Greetings, and thanks for joining me for part two. In this episode, I will go over my cleaning process and also a brief review of the cleaners I used and some of the other cleaners I've experimented with. I will also talk about the infamous Paiste Cleaner. Let's start with the Paiste Cleaner. I found out from my contact in Germany that Paiste does not make their own cleaner. My contact has done business with Paiste for decades and has been to the factory dozens of times. He told me on several occasions he witnessed employees pouring cleaner into the orange bottles from a large container that was labeled Stahlfix. Stahlfix is German for steel fix. It's a stainless steel cleaner. It is now sold under the name of Mr. Muscle by S.C. Johnson and Company. I have bought some of this cleaner and can verify that it is the same as the Paiste Cleaner. It looks like the source that I had is no longer selling it. It is available on Amazon, but I do not know if they will ship to the US. The ingredients of Stahlfix are very similar to a lot of the other cleaners out there that I'm using. It includes mineral oil, phosphoric acid, citric acid, and aluminum oxide, which is an abrasive. Wanted to pause for a minute and talk about labels, because I know it's very important to try to keep the labels on the cymbal. Paiste used a common rubber office stamp to stamp their labels with an ink pad. So it was just basic ink stamp, and it tends to be very fragile. I have found that the old black labels tend to come off very easily. I've actually seen part of the label come off just with rubbing with soap and water. That's how fragile they are. Also, I believe that the labels were stamped over the clear coat, so they will wear out before the clear coat does. When you get to the colored label era, they are much more substantial. Paiste uses what they call a tampon to basically print on the label itself. It's much thicker and much more durable than the old-fashioned stamped on black labels. I also found with the black labels, covering them with tape to try to protect them, I used gaffer's tape and the glue was too strong and literally pulled the label off the cymbal. Lastly, with either type of label, depending on the finish you want on the cymbal, if the cymbal is extremely dirty, you have to prioritize whether you want to save the label or if you want the cymbal to look halfway decent. There's a couple cymbals in particular I have where I gave up on the label and decided not to try to save it because the cymbal was so dirty. If I covered up the label, it would look ridiculous with this big square dark spot where I didn't clean the cymbal under the label. One more brief note. Regarding clear coat, I've found that with Blue Magic, if you very gently wipe it on and then wipe it off with very little rubbing, you can actually polish the clear coat if it's got roughness or scratches or even kind of discoloration. You could very carefully bring back the shine without wearing through the clear coat. I've only been able to do this with Blue Magic and no other cleaners. Now let's start with the main section, which is actually cleaning cymbals. So let me give you a quick overview of this chapter. You basically have three different categories of cymbals. You have new or newer cymbals that still have the full clear coat. You have older cymbals that are dirty and tarnished but still have some of the clear coat. And then you have vintage cymbals which have no clear coat and are usually very tarnished, very dirty, and need a lot of cleaning. So let's start with the coated cymbals. The object is with the newer cymbal that still has its clear coat is not use an abrasive that will remove the clear coat. Newer cymbals, most of the time you can actually just use soap and water, and that is enough to remove fingerprints and dirt and the oil and acids from your fingers. The next level would be cymbals that still have most of their clear coat but are pretty dirty. In that instance, you have several choices. You have Flitz Polish, which is a pretty mild abrasive, and I believe has some sort of acid in it that helps cleaning. The next step up, I would say, would be Paiste Cymbal Cleaner and or Stall Fix, which I think is slightly more abrasive than the Flitz Polish is. And then the next level above that would be Barkeeper's Soft Cleanser, and that has glass oxide as an abrasive and oxalic acid. So that is very effective. That could be substantially abrasive if you do a lot of rubbing on the cymbal, and you can take off the clear coat relatively easily. One of the things I do with Barkeepers is I don't really use the abrasive part, but I use the acid to break down the fingerprints and the tarnish. I don't really rub it onto the cymbal. I basically let it sit and let the acid do the work. The next level would be cymbals that have no clear coat and have serious oxidation and tarnish and are usually very discolored. I developed a process with these cymbals where I will actually use Flitz Tarnish Spray, which does not have an abrasive, but has a strong chemical that will break down the oxidation. The drawback is you cannot let the spray sit for a long time on the cymbal. We're talking about 60 seconds to a minute and a half, and you have to wash it off with soap and water. Sometimes I will team up and also use Barkeeper's Soft Cleanser after that without much rubbing, but again to use the acid to break down the oxidation further. Once I'm satisfied with the color of the cymbal, where the color is pretty much even, you will see that there is not any kind of shine on the surface of the cymbal. It is very dull and flat from the oxidation literally eating away at the copper. This is where the Blue Magic metal polish comes in. With Blue Magic, it's a very fine abrasive polish, and you could bring back the shine partially, or if you really want, you can continue rubbing until you get the look of a Zildjian Brilliant cymbal, as if the cymbal was buffed. I try to be conservative with the Blue Magic and bring back just enough shine so the cymbal looks close to how it did when it came out of the factory. One of the critical aspects I have found, it is essential that once you get the cleaner applied, whether it's Blue Magic or Barkeepers, is you rub with the lathing grooves. What this does is this gets a cleaner down between the grooves and tends to polish the cymbal evenly. With B8 cymbals, you have to be very careful because you can actually get swirl marks on the cymbal if you're not following the lathing grooves. B20 is much harder, and this normally doesn't happen, but if you do not follow the lathing grooves in a circular pattern, you will end up polishing the top of the grooves down, and that will substantially change the sound of the cymbal. The object here is to try to bring back some of the factory finish without affecting the sound of the cymbal, or restoring the sound of the cymbal as close as you can to the original factory sound. I have found that a substantial part of the polishing process with Blue Magic happens when you're actually wiping off the cleaner. After I have cleaned off the Blue Magic and I can see the surface of the cymbal, I may have to apply a second coat depending on how rough the original finish was. Again, I am not trying to get a polished, brilliant finish look, but I am trying to get the finish as close as possible to how it looked when it came out of the factory. Once I've got the cymbal reasonably clean, I will then wash it off with Barkeepers. What the Barkeepers does is the oxalic acid pulls out the rest of the Blue Magic out of the pores of the cymbal, and you will see the cleaner turn black immediately. Once you remove that, I will then wash it with soap and water, and I dry immediately. I will actually use a hair dryer and a towel to dry off the cymbal quickly and completely. Once done, it is essential that you do not touch the cymbal surface with your hands, because it will leave marks, and that will be permanent if you apply a clear coat over the top of it. So let's talk briefly about coatings. I have never used the Paiste cymbal protector. Paiste claims that this is the same coating that they apply at the factory. I believe it is no longer available, so if I could ever get my hands on some, I will try it. The next item I've used quite a bit was Lemon Pledge, and I found that it is okay on cymbals that are still coated or partially coated, but an uncoated cymbal, especially an uncoated B8 cymbal, it just does not seal the surface well enough, and it will start oxidizing within about 3 or 4 days. The other coating that I tried out was pure carnauba wax. This is the version that does not have the cleaner in it. It is just wax. And this does seem to work a little better than Pledge. You have to rub it on and basically polish it off to get the cymbal to shine. Otherwise, it will look kind of foggy. Again, on B8 cymbals, it helps, but on a bare B8 cymbal, within a few weeks, the cymbal will start to change color again. It just does not get down into the pores and seal the cymbal the way that a water or oil-based lacquer will. Once I'm satisfied with the finish of the cymbal, I will begin the coating process. What I have found is very effective is I use an oil-based clear lacquer called Paiste Cleaner, and I cut that with lacquer thinner, 50-50. I will actually mount the cymbal on a drill with a bolt and nut to hold it in place, and then spin the cymbal at a low speed, and then wipe on the clear coat with a fabric cloth, not paper towel. And I witnessed a video of a technician at the Paiste factory doing this, and this is what I'm trying to emulate. The clear coat will dry immediately, so you'll get one pass, maybe two, before it starts to get tacky. I will then flip the cymbal around and coat the bottom side. It will be dry enough to handle within 20 minutes to half an hour. So I think this is going to conclude part 2 of the cleaning supplement. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I hope this video helps with a greater understanding of what cleaners are out there and which ones are the most effective for cleaning your cymbals. Thank you for watching.